Okay, so
The
Yasmin.
psychophysical science of yoga does not make this mistake. It seeks for the key, finds it, and is able to effect the release, for it takes account of the physical or mental body, behind of which the physical is a sort of reproduction in gross form, and is able to discover thereby secrets of the physical body which do not appear to a purely physical inquiry. This mental or psychical body, which the soul keeps even after death, has also a subtle pranic force in it, corresponding to its own subtle nature and substance. For wherever there is life of any kind, there must be pranic energy and a substance in which it can work. And this force is directed through a system of numerous channels called nadi and subtle nervous organization of the psychic body, which are gathered up into 6 or really 7 centers called technically lotuses or circles, chakra, and which rise in an ascending scale to the summit where there is the 1,000-petaled lotus from which all mental and vital energy flows. Each of these lotuses is the center and storing house of its own particular system of psychological powers, energies, and operations. Each system corresponding to a plane of our psychological existence. And these flow out and return to the stream of the pranic energies as they course through the nadis.
Okay, so obviously here start with Raj Yoga. So let's have a look at what he's saying. And he's saying, does not make the psychophysical science of yoga, does not make this mistake. So let us see what that mistake is. We'll read the we'll read the last sentence of the previous paragraph. Then we'll know what the mistake is. Therefore, the dependence has remained absolute, and science neither finds nor seeks for the real key of the dependence, and therefore can discover for us no secret of release and mastery. Okay, so these are chapters which I have not yet done the summary. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, I'll just modern science. Yeah, he's talking about modern science, which depends only on the physical body. So if they depend only on the physical body, then they don't get the possibility of releasing the soul and consciousness from the physical body. But Raj Yoga does not make that mistake because it takes into account the subtle body. That's what he's saying. Okay? Modern science, I am reading the previous one sentence on the previous paragraph. Modern science and psychology have even held for a time this dependence to be in fact an identity, the dependence of mind and vital on the physical. So that mistake the Raj Yoga is not making. They know that there is more than only the physical body. There is a subtle body, there is a vital, there is a mind. So we don't identify these higher planes of consciousness with the body. We don't do that. So that's a mistake that Raj Yoga is avoiding. And that's why he starts a phrase with psychophysical science of yoga. It is physical, but psycho also, psychological. Okay? Whereas in the Sriaurobindo yoga, it is not psychophysical, it is purely psychological. Okay? That's a distinction between Raj Yoga and the integral yoga. He operates from the subtlest, the subtler ranges of consciousness. Hatha Yoga uses the body for climbing up. The Raj Yoga uses the psychophysical elements in the human being. But Sriaurobindo uses only the Purusha in mind. He starts from there. So it's a mental concentration, mental rejection, okay, and mental surrender. Okay, so mostly it is from there. You begin with the Purusha in the mind, in Srivamsa Yoga. But here he is saying Raj Yoga is one step ahead of the Hatha Yoga. The dependence on the body is less in the Raj Yoga. Okay? So the psychophysical science of yoga does not make this mistake. It seeks for the key. The key to what? The key to liberation. The key for the consciousness to come out of the prison house of body. Okay? Finds it. It not only seeks but also finds it. And it is able to effect the release. For it takes account of the psychical and mental body behind, okay, of which the physical is a sort of reproduction in gross form, and is able to discover thereby secrets of the physical body which do not appear to a purely physical inquiry. So the chakras in the physical body, the centers, they are sometimes they call them lotuses. Okay, so and the Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga realize that which science does not. Okay? Science cannot see the subtle body, which do not appear to purely physical inquiry. This mental or psychological body, which actually is using the word psychical in the sense of subtler. Okay, here. Nothing to do with the psychic, mind you. It's very clear. The reference here is very clear. Which the soul keeps even after death. Because when you meet death, the subtle body is the container of the soul, if you want. So after death, with just a little more clarity on this, most of you know it, but anyway, when you die, then what happens is the body is given up and the consciousness comes out. And what does that consciousness consist of? It consists of the vital and mental sheets. And the soul is still inside there. And it lingers for some time in the earth atmosphere, sometimes even up to 12 days. That's why in India we have the ceremony of Shraddha to cut the link between the physical and the. So after 12 days, you have the Shraddha ceremony, 12 days or whatever. That is not a very fixed thing. Sometimes the soul knows what it is doing, but sometimes the soul does not know what it is doing. Okay? Where it is and what it is. It does not even know sometimes that it is dead. There is no body. That's a famous example of that Benjamin. Okay? So then what happens? First the body dissolves. Then the vital dissolves. And then the mental dissolves. And then the psychic goes to the psychic world. And then from there, it takes birth again. And the period normally is said to be, in Indian law, it is said to be 2 years. But there's nothing absolutely categorical about this time. It can be for a long time, it can be for less time, and depends also the coming back into a physical body, depends upon the development you have. So let's take the case of an animal. The animal, the so-called soul in the animal takes birth, it goes only up to the vital level and comes back again because it doesn't have a mind. So it cannot cross up to the mind level. So a dead animal, the soul goes up to the vital world and takes birth again in another animal body. But if you are an ordinary human being, you have some sort of a preliminary mind, then you go up to the mental level, but only the physical mind. And then you take birth again. And when that happens, very often it happens quite quickly, and you have the full memory of your past life. There are many such interesting cases in the internet. If you go also, even in India, we have had very interesting cases. Okay, that happens. But if you are a fully developed human being with a nicely well-developed mind, then you will go to the mental level and maybe come down again. But the next step is the soul realizes that these are only clothings, they are only vestments, they are only coverings, and then it goes into the psychic world, ruminates there. It actually reviews its own life, sees what it should do next, it gathers the experiences, the essence of the experiences in this life, profits by it, grows in consciousness a little bit, and again takes birth for the next chapter of its life. Okay, that's a process. So this is what which the soul keeps even after death. So first when it comes out, it's a subtle body that is there. And that subtle body consists of the vital, the subtle physical, the vital, and the mind. Okay? So this mental psychical body, which the soul keeps even after death, has also a subtle pranic force in it, that is the vital, corresponding to its own subtle nature and substance. Okay? Depending, there is a universal nature and a universal substance, but there is also an individual nature and individual substance. Okay? Just like your body is individual matter, and then the universal matter which is produced through universal individual body. Similarly, there is a universal pranic force, and there is also a individual pranic force coming from that larger force, which is your vital. Same thing with the mind. Actually, it's same thing with even the soul. The soul, individual soul, is coming from the universal soul, and universal soul is God. Okay, so the whole is limiting itself into individual forms, right from the highest level to the lowest level. Okay, so the words and this. Then we're saying this mental or psychical body which the soul keeps even after death has also a subtle pranic force in it corresponding to its own subtle nature and substance. Then there's a parenthetical phrase. For wherever there is life of any kind, okay, there must be a pranic energy and a substance in which it can work. Note the word substance. Huh? All this is substance. Everywhere there is a material which is gross or subtle or even subtlest. So the energy also is a substance in which it can work. And this force is directed through a system of nervous channels called nadi. Okay? These are in the physical body, these nadi are the nerves, okay? Physical nerves, which carry the pio currents, the currents that flow. Okay, there is current, there is energy which is takes the form of electrical current. Okay, that is very interesting, and I think we mentioned the other day. It's also very interesting that wherever there is life, okay, this energy takes sometimes the form of electricity. We know, for instance, that the nerves, it is electricity. The energy in the form of electricity which flows in the nerves, we know that. Okay? Then it's there even in the firefly, the small firefly which glows at night. It glows because that pranic energy takes the form of electricity. Then we also know that sometimes the electric eel, for instance, in the sea or water bodies, it's a serpent-like thing, and if you touch it, you'll get a shock, a very, very tangible shock. So electricity is there everywhere. This energy which is there in the human being body also. And sometimes it can become very, very intense. Okay, I think I told you last time that it can become so intense that it will burst into heat. Electricity produces heat. And this heat can become so intense that it can burn you. You may not believe this, but it happens very rarely, but it does happen. Okay. It's called spontaneous combustion. The body burns itself out because there is no regulation, there is no regulator to control the temperature in the body. When we have fever, it goes very high, then you are in danger. If it goes very low also, you are in danger. So there is an automatic control. But that control can sometimes go wrong because after all the body is a machine and all machines can go wrong. Rarely, but it does happen. So nadis, these are the subtle nadis in the subtle body. They correspond to the, so we are saying the gross nervous system and the subtle nervous system are connected. The subtle nervous organization of the psychic body, the subtle body, which are gathered up into 6 or really 7 centers called technically lotuses or circles, chakra, which rise in an ascending scale to the summit, where there is the 1,000-petal lotus from which all the mental and vital energies flows. So everything is there at the highest level. You have 1,000-petal lotus. It's called the Sahasradala. And from there everything is. And when you go out of your body, it's a Sahasradala energy go through from there. And then you can go into the higher levels of consciousness, not in the body, which are gathered up into 6 or 7 rays. Why is saying 6? Because this Sahasradala is supposed to be outside, above the head. That's why 6. And we gave I won't go into all the names. Last time I think I did go through the names, but they are available on the internet. So there's not necessary for me to say that. But Sahasradala is the highest. Then in the center of the forehead is the Ajna Chakra. Then in the throat center is the Vishuddha. Then there is the Anahata, the heart center. Then the Nabhi Padma. The Nabhi is your navel. Then below that is the Swadhisthana, which stands by itself as the foundation. Swadhisthana. And finally, in the coccyx bone, you have the Mooladhara. That's an inconscient. The tip of the coccyx bone represents the Mooladhara. So these are the 6. And the 7th one is a chakra on top of the head. Sri Aurobindo doesn't pay much attention to all these things. He is giving you all this because he is describing Raja Yoga. For him, it is entirely psychological. And the opening of the chakra also is made a huge point in all the other yogas because it indicates where you are. But in Sri Aurobindo's case, they open automatically and he is not paying much attention to all that. Your consciousness is more important. So, this is what he's saying. They rise in ascending scale to the 1,000-petal lotus from which all the mental and vital energies flows. Then, the next sentence. Each of these lotuses is a center and a storing house of its own particular system of psychological powers, energies, and operations. Note the words, powers, energies, and operations. Okay? And each of these lotuses also, they actually are energy flowing in a certain way, and that's why they're petal-like. So suppose it's flowing 4 petals, then they go like this. The energy is flowing actually in the chakra. The chakra is not something physical. It is just a pattern of energy it is going. So in the Tantric and the Hatha Yogic books, you will find these are described very clearly. And there's also color in them. There's also color and form, and the current also indicated how it goes. Okay, so this is the science of Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga, and Tantra also. They also care for this. So, each of these lotus center, and they have each one has got power, and there's also in the books you will find that they also give the sounds. Okay, the sounds are also given there because when these chakras open, there are sounds that come. Okay? You hear sounds. I'll tell you an interesting story. There was a yogi who had come. We were printing a book called Science. It was a seminar on science, yoga, and consciousness or something like that. Karan Singh, the Kashmir prince, was at that time the health minister, and he had called this conference in Delhi. And all the seminars, all the records were kept, and he sent it to the ashram here for printing. So I was there at that time in the press, and we printed the book and sent it back to Delhi. And in that, for overseeing the production of the book, 2 doctors had come. Okay. One was a yogi, he was a yogi, and the other was a homeopathy doctor. They became very good friends, and this yogi told me many things about his development. So he used to meditate every day in the morning, 2 hours, and in the evening, 2 hours. And he used to, sometimes, one day, he suddenly heard the temple gong, okay? Dung, 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 like that. And he asked his guru, Why is the temple nowadays they're sounding a gong? Is there any festival? There's no festival. Then the Guru told him, from which side is the sound coming? He said, from my left side. So he said, in the left side, there's no temple there. You know that. So it is your own sound that you are hearing. So it is the rising of the Kundalini Shakti that rises, and when it goes up, it makes a sound. Okay? These sounds are very interesting, all different types of sounds. In Savitri, we have, I think I spoke about it, in the world stare, that chapter is there, or the world soul, I don't remember exactly which one. Okay? These sounds are given without reference. Srinath doesn't say what they are, but he says, like a temple gong, or the wind blowing through casuarina trees, or the murmurings of the sea, the waves coming, constantly a sound, or like the wind whirling, or the waves breaking, or the bees humming. Okay? The bees is the droning of the bees. Okay? These are all the sounds that you hear. Or like a caravan, small tinkling of a bell. Okay? All these sounds are there in the, and I know that they are pranic sounds because this yogi told me. And that's why I could recognize in Savitri those sounds. They are these Kundalini sounds. Somebody is referring to. It interests you, you can look in the, it's about 1.5 pages. Okay, so that is what is there. So there is this subtle body, the sounds come. It is very similar to if you put a flap. Okay, you put a flap on a cycle wheel. Okay, if you are not riding, there is no sound. But if you ride the cycle, that means the current is flowing. The current is flowing. It creates a sound. It's as simple as that. That means your consciousness is rising and moving upwards. So it creates a sound. Okay. So this is what he's saying. And these are, and each one, all those chakras in the books are given the shape, the color, the sounds that emerge from it. So that's what he's saying. We go to the next paragraph. Okay. This arrangement of the psychic body. So, Jasmine read. So now, yeah, Shilpa, you can read if you want. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rangada.
Go ahead.
This arrangement of the psychic body is reproduced in the physical with the spinal column as a rod and the ganglionic centers as the chakras, which rise up from the bottom of the column where the lowest is attached to the brain and find their summit in the Brahmarandra at the top of the skull. These chakras or lotuses, however, are in physical man closed or only partly open, with the consequences that only such a powers and only so much of them are active in him as are sufficient for his ordinary physical life, and so much mind and soul only in only is at a play as well accord with its needs. This is the real reason, looked at from the mechanical point of view, why the embodied soul seems so dependent on the bodily and nervous life, though the dependence is neither so complete nor so real as it seems. The whole energy of the soul is not at play in the physical body and life. The secret power of the mind are not awake in it. The bodily and nervous energies predominate. But all the while, the supreme energy is there, asleep. It is said to be coiled up and slumbering like a snake. Therefore, it is called the Kundalini Shakti in the lowest of the chakras in the Mooladhara. When the pranayama, the division between the upper and lower prana currents in the body is dissolved, this Kundalini is struck and awakened. It uncoils itself and begins to rise upward like a fiery serpent, breaking open each lotus as it ascends until the Shakti meets the Purusha in the Brahma Randra in a deep samadhi of union.
Okay. Randhra. Randhra is a the word Sanskrit word or even Indian word for hole. Okay, this an opening. That's what the Brahmarandra, and they call the Brahmarandra because that is what allows you to go out of the physical body. What he's describing here is the rising of the Kundalini Shakti in the Mooladhara, at the lowest end. Okay? It's like a seed. The seed is the one that contains the whole tree, the energy of the whole tree. Immediately, the Mooladhara, the coccyx bone at the higher, lowest level, but not in the physical body, in the subtle body, all the energy is there stored in the coccyx bone, okay, the last bit. Exactly as in matter, all the higher planes of consciousness have involved themselves. They have come and involved themselves, and now there's an evolution slowly going on. Only there it takes millions and millions of years to come out in a universal evolution. But in the individual evolution, which is yoga, it can be done in one life or maybe 2-3 lives. But the same process of evolution, rising from matter to life to mind and going up, is a millennial process. Whereas in yoga, individual evolution, you can do it much faster. Not necessarily in one life, but normally it takes many, many lives. Okay, this is what he said. Let's look at each sentence. This arrangement of the psychic body, the subtle body, is reproduced in the physical with the spinal column as a rod and the ganglionic centers as the chakras, which rise up from the bottom of the column, that is absolutely at the lowest level, where the lowest is attached to the brain. So this is the interesting part, that what is there in the body is also there in the subtle planes of consciousness, in the universal nature. Okay, so the very fact that our column going right from the brain right down to the coccyx level, it is a connection. At the individual level, it's a connection between the highest and the lowest, and therefore, it's also in the universe. It's a symbol, a physical symbol of the universal, where the highest is connected with the lowest. In other words, the superconscious is connected with the inconscient, whereas the Buddhism and the others are denying this. But even physically it is there. How can you deny? Okay, and the physical is a symbol of everything that is there at the higher level. So it is very interesting how the highest is connected with the lowest. And there is an evolution. You can go from the lowest to the highest very quickly through yoga, and at the universal level, very slowly, millions of years. Okay? So this is how it is, he's saying. These arrangements, spinal cord is a rod and the ganglionic central chakra, which rise up from the bottom of the column, where the lowest is attached to the brain, and find their summit in the Brahmarandra. Randra is the opening at the top of the head, okay, at the top of the skull. These chakras or lotuses, however, are in physical man, they are closed or only partly open. So, even when the energies are flowing in the body, sometimes they are not flowing properly. And when the energy does not flow properly in the body, the nervous system doesn't work very well, then there is a blockage there of the energy. And those who do Reiki and pranic healing, they can feel the blockage. They take their hands like that and go, and they can feel the blockage. Okay? And then they work on it. So this can be at the lower side. These chakras and lotuses, however, are in physical man closed or only partly open, with the consequence that only such powers and only so much of them are active in him as are sufficient for the ordinary physical life. So the chakras which are there in the Nabhi Padma and the Swadhisthana, they are mostly open for everybody because you are leading a physical life. Okay, so much of mind and soul only is at play as will accord with its need. So the soul and also the mind and also partly open, and those are more developed, fully open in those who are very developed. Okay? So this is what he said. This is the real reason. Looked at from the mechanical point of view. Now note that Only from the mechanical point of view, everything is blocked. And that's why the physical body is the biggest block, the biggest obstacle for spiritual progress, because everything is blocked. Okay? This is the real reason, looked at from the mechanical point of view, why the embodied soul, the soul which is trapped in the body or has come down willingly, that's how rebirth takes place, willingly it has come down to the body, seems so dependent on the bodily and nervous life. Bodily, physical and nervous vital to a certain extent. Though the dependence is neither so complete nor so real as it seems. Because yoga will prove to you that you don't depend on the body. You can come out of your body. The whole energy of the soul is not at play in the physical body and life. The secret powers of mind are not awake in it. So which you are living, when you are identified with your body and your vital and your mind, mostly with the body, the mind is not fully awake there, nor is the vital. Okay? As you become more and more conscious, the vital powers and the mental powers start becoming more and more prominent in you. The whole energy of the soul is not at play in the physical body and life. The secret powers of mind are not awake in it. The bodily and nervous energies predominate. But all the while, the supreme energy is there. It is sleeping. It is said to be coiled up and slumbering like a snake. Therefore, it's called Kundalini Shakti. Kundalini Shakti, like the pot at the lowest level, it is sleeping. And when it awakes, okay, the lowest chakra is the Mooladhara. The Mooladhara corresponds to the, as I said, the coccyx bone. Okay? When by pranayama, the division between the upper and lower pranic currents in the body is dissolved, this Kundalini is struck and awakened. It uncoils itself and begins to rise upward like a fiery serpent, breaking open each lotus as it ascends until the Shakti meets the Purusha in the Brahmarandha, in a deep samadhi of union. It's like exactly like the electrical circuit, okay? The generator is there, and it's coming into your house, and you have a switch which is not allowing the current to express itself. When you switch on the current, the circuit is complete. And when the circuit is complete, there is light, illumination. And that's exactly what happened in the body also. When all the chakras open up, and the lowest goes and hits the highest, the switch is open. It's exactly like that. And when the switch is open, there is illumination. Illumination where? In the mind. Sometimes it can also be in the vital. Depends on how intense your transformation is. The mind can become full of light, or sometimes you may even see partial light. Okay? And it will come down into your vital, even your vital will become pure. In Sremnu's case, there is a poem which says, the golden light, it came down into my mind and transformed it. It came down into my vital and transformed it. And then it went down into my feet, the very physical. Okay? And it has an effect there. So this is what we say. So, 8:34. So we have got 6 minutes. We can maybe read the next one. And now note, interestingly, you're saying deep samadhi. Huh? So in Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga, it is mainly samadhi. Samadhi is the mind has become silent, but your consciousness is outside the body mind life. You are normally not aware of the physical world. People will think that you are sleeping, but you're not sleeping. You're fully awake in the higher. That's the difference between samadhi and sleep. When you are sleeping, when you come back into your waking consciousness, very often you don't remember what you have experienced in the subtler planes. But it is in samadhi, your physical consciousness is not there, but when you come back into your body, you remember fully what you have experienced in the higher. That's a samadhi. Okay, that's a difference. Let's read the next paragraph. We have just some time, we've got 5 minutes. We'll read the next one. Put less symbolically. So, who will read? Anyone? Kiran can read. Sunti can read.
Shall I read?
Yes, go ahead, read it. We just read it today.
Yes. Put less symbolically, in more physiological, philosophical, though perhaps less profound language, this means that the real energy of our being is lying asleep and inconscient in the depths of our vital system and is awakened by the practice of pranayama. In its expansion, it opens up all the centers of our psychological being in which reside the powers and the consciousness of what would now be called perhaps our subliminal self. Therefore, as each center of power and consciousness is opened up, we get access to successive psychological planes and are able to put ourselves in communication with the worlds or cosmic states of being which correspond to them. All the psychic powers, abnormal to the physical man but natural to the soul, develop in us. Finally, at the summit of the ascension, this arising and expanding energy meets with the superconscious self, which sits concealed behind and above our physical and mental existence. This meeting leads to a profound samadhi of union in which our waking consciousness loses itself in the superconscious. Thus, by the thorough and unremitting practice of pranayama, the Hatha Yogin attains in his own way the psychic and spiritual results which are pursued through more directly physical and spiritual methods in other yogas. The one mental aid which he conjoins with it is the use of the mantra, sacred syllable, name, or mystic formula, which is of so much importance in the Indian systems of yoga and common to them all. This secret of the power of the mantra, the six chakras, and the Kundalini Shakti is one of the central truths of all that complex psychophysical science and practice of which the Tantric philosophy claims to give us a rational and the most complete compendium of methods. All religions and disciplines in India which use largely the psychophysical method, depend more or less upon it for their practices.
So here he has read about the Hatha Yoga, and the next paragraph he reads about Raja. So we'll do this next time because we have got only 2 minutes left. So we'll do this next time. So we'll reread the put less symbolically on page 538. Okay? So Sunki has to note down.
Yes, I will make a note.
Yes. Okay. And Shrimli is going into great.
Can I ask you a question?
You can always.
You said that at death, the physical body dissolves,
Yes.
then the vital and the mental sheath. But
That's right.
what about the inner subtle body, the inner vital, the inner mental? What happens to them?
You are entering into those areas. The inner vital is also a substance, and you are entering into those areas. When you get rid of the gross body, the gross vital, and the gross mind, you are going into. Yeah, that's how it happens.
But then what happens to them? Do they exist or do they dissolve?
They exist, and you are going into those areas with your subtle consciousness. They exist universally. Just see exactly what happens to your body. Your body goes back into matter.
Yes.
Right? Exactly the same way, your vital substance goes back into universal matter, universal life. Your mind goes back into universal mind. Universal minds are all there. You are only entering with your substance, you are entering into those areas. You follow what I'm saying?
Sort of. Not fully convinced.
Okay. Okay, let me tell you this. There is universal matter. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And your individual body is individual matter.
Yes.
Now what happens after death? Your individual matter is dissolving and going back into universal matter.
Yes.
And
Yes.
universal matter is always there. Okay? Whether your individual body is there or not, universal matter is always there.
That means,
Ah.
would it mean that your inner vital, inner mental, and inner subtle being
Yes.
do not belong to you, but it's a part of the cosmic consciousness?
Yes. In the cosmic, maybe not, but they are there. They are permanently there. You are only entering into those rooms. And you can enter into those rooms when your substance is equal to that substance. So your body substance is equal to matter, so it goes back into that. But you cannot go into those subtler planes with your body. You cannot. You will have to go into the universal prana with your vital body. That will be allowed. Then you can go into the universal mind with your individual mind. But you cannot go there with your gross body. You can't. There's a correspondence between all these planes of consciousness. Okay? Your individual soul, exactly in the same way, is trapped in the lower, but when it becomes pure and its substance is as pure as that of the divine, you will be able to identify yourself with the divine. The gross cannot enter into the subtle. The subtle can enter into the subtle. Have I made myself clear?
Yes, yes, yes. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Rampada.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Rangada.